Hello, hello! My name is Kira, I'm your average Genshin Impact player, and today I want to talk about Genshin's 4 stars. So, before I get started, these videos are always just my opinion. You are free to disagree or to exit the video or to whatever. Please just don't leave me comments saying, well, why don't you just quit Genshin if you hate it? I don't hate it. I wouldn't bother critiquing it if I hated it. I wouldn't be wasting my time on something I hated. I'd just critique because I think that it can do better. So, getting into the actual 4-star thing. I started thinking about this because I got comments on my other videos saying that I had, wow, a stacked account. How am I an average player? My account is so stacked. I never really considered my account stacked. So first of all, I was thinking like, okay, how would my account be stacked? And it always comes down to I was playing since the beginning. If you're playing since the beginning, you've had 3 years to be, pulling for characters, gathering prima gems, doing all that stuff. It makes it different. It makes it a very different experience to have been doing it for 3 years. It really does. So then I was thinking, okay, what is the big difference between 3 years ago and now? And it really is the 4 stars. It really is the 4 stars. And I'm not saying that the 4 stars these days are worse. I am not. I'm not saying that. I do think that we've had some insanely powerful or very different 5 stars that have made the 4 stars that have been released recently pale a little in comparison. Like, who is gonna not pale a little in comparison compared to how powerful Neuvillette is? And Farina basically changed the way that buffing works with the loss of HP and the gain of HP. Like, it's a whole different mechanic of buffing. So, of course, all the 4 stars are going to look a little faded compared to characters like that. But they make other 5 stars look a little faded, like it's just a thing. There are always going to be some 5-star characters who stand out. There are always going to be some 4-star characters who stand out. That's how it works. And it also comes down to personal preference. Some people like certain weapons and don't like certain weapons, or like certain kinds of characters and other kinds of characters. I like 4 stars probably that other people don't like the playstyle of. Obviously, I play Sino as a main. Other people hate his playstyle. Like, it's all down to personal preference, But, so I'm not saying that the 4 stars these days are worse. What I'm talking about is availability. And so, Genshin History. Getting into that. So, just discounting the starter characters because they are never on a rate up, and you basically have to either pray that you get them off the standard banner or you can get them from the store. That's how I finished off Lisa and Kaya. I don't have Amber's C6, but too bad. That's too bad. So, but looking at everybody else, now, a lot of these characters came for free. You can still get them for free, even if you're a new player, you start today, you can still get some of these characters for free. But others I got through events and are no longer free for people starting today. So that's too bad, but it was only 1 copy. The thing is that it was so easy to see 6 characters back then, at the very beginning. Because, first of all, we're at the very beginning of the game. We have Mondstadt and we have Liyue open up. There are chests everywhere, accomplishments, all this stuff. You can do the Mondstadt quest, the Liyue quest. We're just rolling in prima gems. And of course, the game is, giving us stuff too because they're trying to get people to come and play and all this stuff. So it was just, I was able to do a lot of wishing back then just because there were so many prima gems. So just lots of wishing, even on the standard banner, because it was still exciting to get Diluc and Jean and Mona. These were still characters to be super excited about, so it was still really exciting to wish on the standard banner. So, just a bit of a different culture, I suppose. But looking at these characters, kind of these starter characters, even going up into like Diana, Jinyan, Rosaria and Yanfei did come later. Like, this was, like, teapot time. Rosaria was introduced during, like, Albedo's thing, but she actually got, put in as a character way later. But just, so basically, looking at these characters right here, minus the starter characters, because no rate up, it was just so easy to get them. Because even if you say that, they were just doing one limited banner per update, or two, there weren't ever two running simultaneously, not at the beginning. But there were still always the rate ups for the characters. And when there are so few, if you're just pulling on, like, just even a few of the 5-star banners, it was so easy to get copies of these guys, even without events and stuff giving you free copies. So, for example, for me, the characters I pulled for, the 5-star limited banner characters that I pulled for that had 4-star rate ups were Venti, Zhongli, Albedo, Ganyu, and Zhao. These were characters I pulled through on the first run. And Klee was a rerun, Child was a rerun, but these 5 were ones that I got on the first time. And so through that, through getting copies for free, and through wishing on the standard banner, the only 4-star within this entire group that I don't have a C6 of is Razor. I have him at C5. So you're taking this entire group of 4 stars and you're making them super easy to C6. And of course, 4 stars are going to benefit from being C6. Like, we can just look at any of them. Like, I'll take King Xiao for 400. Alec. So it's like, good boy. Good boy. I know that a lot of people don't like King Xiao or whatever, but I think he's actually one of the best Hydra units. If not like one of the best 4-star Hydra units, I honestly think he's been one of the best Hydra units in the game. But again, that's my personal preference and stuff. But obviously, he really does benefit from being C6'd. Here you add one of the swords, Rainbow Under the Azure Sky, extends the duration of Raincutter, and decreases the Hydra res of your opponents. This raises the Guhao level to 15. Evil Soother makes it so that the damage dealt by the Guhao sword failed range is increased by 50%. 50%. Brace of Rain goes up to 15, and then hence call them my own verses. So you get activating 2 of the Guhao sword rain cutters, sword rain attacks. It enhances the 3rd sword rain attack. And the 3rd sword rain attack also regenerates 3 energy for him. So you get not only more swords, longer swords, more deadly swords, but now the swords increases energy. So you can see how obviously this really amplifies the character. It makes him, I just really love King Xiao. But, it just takes him, who's already, a pretty good character. His burst and his skill can be placed on other people, so he does the continuous hydro damage. Just a good character. And then you give him all this other stuff that just makes him and it was so easy. Like, I didn't even have to try for these characters, they just came home. Because they were either on the rate ups, because there were so few 4 stars to actually be on the rate up banners. So they were just there all the time. They were just going on the rate up all the time. They were cycling through the shop all the time because there were so few of them. It was so much easier to just buy your way into having these characters, or just wishing them, or getting them on the standard banner, or having them on a rate up, because there were so few of them. They were just so much easier to get. And so, like I said, the only one out of that early batch of 4 stars that I don't have C6 now is Razor. And if I played Reezer, there was probably a moment where I could have bought him in the shop and I just didn't. So this led to teams like National being really popular. National being the team of Zhangling, King Xiao, Bennett, and Changyun. Obviously, pretty accessible for free-to-play players and even not free-to-play players, just very accessible to everyone. And then that got replaced with our National, which was basically taking Changyun off the team and putting the Raiden Shogun on there. But that was all the way into Inazuma, you know. So I cannot stress how viable these 4 stars were. Like, you could just make an entire team off of them because you were able to take a full advantage of their constellations, even if, you know, sometimes constellations are kind of not great. Still, with most constellations make 4 stars quite good, if not as good as a C0 5-star, maybe even better for some of them, honestly. But it's like, it put them on equal ground, and so it made it that because I had these 4 stars, sorry, because I had them and they were just accessible and I was able to C6 them really easily, it meant that I didn't have to pull for 5 stars just because I had like a niche that needed to be filled. Like, I did not feel the need to pull for Hu Tao because I already had Zhongling. Literally a pyro lance. Pyro polearm. So I didn't feel the need to pull for Hu Tao because this is the stupidest thing. I'm totally fine with Hu Tao except for her shorts. Like, the lines and the little dots on her shorts make me think of Nike. Other than that, it's like, I love her design and all that stuff, but her shorts remind me of Nike. That's like the stupidest thing. I know, it's the stupidest thing, and I don't mean anything against Hu Tao or any of that. It's just that her shorts remind me of Nike shorts. And that, like, threw me off, and I didn't want to pull for her because of the Nike shorts. I know it's stupid, but oh my god. But, you know, I already had Zhongling, so I didn't need to pull for Hu Tao. Just because I had these 4 stars who were totally good. I had no need to pull for 5 stars that I didn't really, really want. So all the 4 stars, 5 stars that I actually pulled in the early days were just completely based on personality, basically. I really liked Albedo, so I pulled for Albedo. I thought Ganyu was pretty, so I pulled for Ganyu. Yeah, okay, so it wasn't all based on personality. Sometimes I was just gay. But, it was either, you know, it was either personality or I really liked their design, you know. There was no need to be like, okay, I really need like a Dendro, or, you know, I really need a Pyro, because the 4 stars basically had it covered. If I hadn't wanted to pull for Venti, I wouldn't have pulled for Venti because I had Sucrose, and Sucrose is just as capable of, you know, it's Sucrose. You know, so there wasn't the need to pull for characters because the 4 stars were there. They could be C6 so easily. They were accessible. They were just so easy to get. And then we've run into the problem of today. And this is a problem that I'm facing just as much as anyone who is just brand new to the game is facing. But luckily, I already had my period in which I was able to C6 all these really great 4 stars that I still use in teams. But if we look today at characters, like, okay. I'll use Carrara because she is actually up on the banner right now. If I've got Carrara here, obviously she's at level 1, so, you know. But if I want to C6 Carrara, it is a whole nother beast. Because there are so many 4 stars. And these are just, yeah, okay. The only 4 star I don't have is Mika. So, you know, all that purple is 4 stars, okay? So, plus Mika. So, if I want to get Carrara, Now, I used to be able to get them in the shop because they would rotate through so frequently because there were so few 4-stars. So, but I'm gonna have to wait forever for Carrara to be in the shop because there's so many 4-stars. And standard banner, well, I can hope that I get her on the standard banner. I don't wish on the standard banner as often anymore because I have lots of copies of the standard banner 5-stars. But, you know, whenever I get 10 Acquaint Fates, it's like, I'll pull. And you gotta hope that out of all the 4-stars out there, it happens to be Carrara. Doesn't happen often. Otherwise, you have to pull on their rate up. And that is where I personally saved a lot of Prima Gems. And where I think a lot of Prima Gems will go, not to waste, because you're getting the 4-star that you want, but you are also pulling for the 5-star who's on that banner. So you're going to end up with 5-stars that you don't want. You're going to end up with copies of the other rate-up characters that you don't want. You know, if I was pulling right now for Carrara, I would also be getting copies of, I know it's Shinobu, and I would be getting copies of Zhongling, and I've C6 both of them, so I don't need those. And I would potentially, depending on who it was, I've already C6 I know, so I guess I'd be pulling for Ayato. But I'd be getting copies of Ayato that I potentially don't want. Well, that I would potentially be getting copies of Ayato that I don't want. Just because I'm trying to pull for Carrara. And that's annoying. That's really annoying because, you know, it's like I think I've got 2 of her. Oh, I've got 3. That's nice. She came home for some random reason on the standard banner for me. So, you know, but if I was trying to C6 her so that she could be like, you know, the prime example of a Carrara, so that, you know, she would be the best unit possible on my team, you know, it's like, okay, so I have to either pull on the rate up, which I don't want to do because it's going to waste my Prima Gems. I have to... Steed of Skanda, that's funny. I have to, you know, wait for her to be in the shop, or I have to wait for her to come home on the standard banner. Like, that's so frustrating. That is so frustrating. And imagine, you know, and like this is the one that I really get mad at because I would really love more copies of him. And I don't have them. Toma! Like, man, I wish that I could have some Toma constellations here, because then I would very much probably be putting him on my teams, because I really like the Pyro Shield and Pyro support, really nice, but it's just so hard to get them these days. It's just so hard to get them these days. So if you are a new player, you don't even get the benefit of having that grace period in which there weren't very many 4-stars. It's going to be really hard to get to C6 any 4-star unless you pull on their rate up. And I think that is the big difference between when the game started and where it is now. I didn't have to pull on the rate ups in order to C6 these characters, or at least I didn't have to pull exclusively for the rate ups. I knew that they were just kind of gonna come home because there were so few of them. And they were quality, you know? It was Bennett, it was King Shao, it was, you know, Fischl. It was these units that people still use in really good teams. And that is just not viable anymore for new players. And for new 4-stars, it's really hard to achieve unless you pull on their rate up. So yeah, I think that for me, the ability to C6 really quality 4-stars and create teams out of them, to not have to pull on rate ups on the banners of 5-stars that I don't even want, made a huge difference. Just made a huge difference. because now that I think about it, it's like if I actually was really serious about taking Carrara and putting her on my team, I would basically have to pull on her rate up. So, bye-bye, Prima Gems! It's not something I do just because, you know, I started playing the game not doing that ever, and it's probably going to continue to be... It's probably going to continue to be how I operate until the end of the game. And just, don't do it. But it saved me a lot of Prima Gems, and a lot of grief, honestly. Because it's very frustrating knowing that new 4 stars can come out that I really, really love. But if I want to get them, I basically have to pull on their rate up banner. Because you can only get 1 copy of them in the shop through a time, or you gotta hope that they come home on a standard banner. So that's annoying. So what could the game possibly do to change this? I would say they could do rate ups for 4 stars on the standard banner. That would be a possibility. It's not the greatest possibility, but they could do it. What I would actually love would be to have a 4-star banner. Just exclusively 4 stars. And, you know, it's still gonna be a, you know, luck that gets you the 4-star that you want, but at least if you know that you're just pulling for 4 stars, that there isn't the risk of getting the 5-star that you don't want. I don't know, I think that would be a little bit more worth it. Obviously, a 4-star banner that had rate ups for certain 4 stars for certain periods. I would hope for actually kind of like shortened periods. That would also be a possibility. I think that they just need to make the 4 stars more available again, because that just made a huge difference for me at the beginning of the game, and I think is a hindrance to people who are just starting. So, yeah, I mean, guess for me, ideally, they would start a 4-star banner. Just all the time, like the standard banner. Here's the standard banner where you can get, you know, 5 stars and 4 stars, and here's the standard banner where you can just get 4 stars. And I would be really happy to pull on that banner. I might, if they were doing Acquaint Fates to pull on that banner, then I would actually start, like, working to get Acquaint Fates again, so that I could get extra copies of, maybe I could get some Tomas. But, yeah, I think they really just need to make 4 stars accessible again. Another option, of course, would be when they do events, they could make it so that we can choose the 4 stars, like they've done in the past, you know. Being able to choose which 4-star you want, that's always really nice. But in general, they just need to make them more accessible again. They need to make it way easier to be able to C6 these characters. I know that Genshin is a business. I don't need people telling me that in the comments. But making the 4 stars into more of a thing that is possible, making it so that, you know, if we had the 4-star banner, people would still want to pull on it, and they could still have the rate ups with the 5 stars. Like I said, I mean, they could still have the rate ups with the 5 stars. It would just make it so that it was possible to pull on the 4-star banner at all times. And you know what, they wouldn't even have to do a rate up. If they really wanted to make it so that people would still have to pull on the 5-star banners in order to, like, guarantee a certain 4-star, then they could just not do rate ups on the 4-star banner, but just having the 4-star banner exist so that you can possibly get more constellations of your 4 stars. I think they could make money off of that. So, you know, it would benefit everyone. It would benefit free-to-players as well. just to be able to see 6 more 4 stars. Like, it just... I think it would be better for everyone, honestly, because that was what I came up with when I was like, okay, how did I get like a stacked account? It's the 4 stars. It's the 4 stars. I was lucky enough to be able to see 6. So, yeah, that's that. Again, I'm Kira, and I hope you're doing well wherever and whenever you are. I will see you later. Bye.